Hello, my friends. Welcome to Talk to Me Tuesday for Tuesday, August 4th, 2026. This is Jennifer. Welcome back to my sewing room. I wanted to welcome all the new viewers. I had a bunch of new subscribers just recently, and I'm not sure where you guys came from, but I'm glad you're here. This is just a weekly show and tell. I've been doing this since 2009. I've only skipped a couple of weeks in all those years, and I do this for me. I don't do it for like sponsors or whatever. In my younger days, 2009 to like 2019, I was pattern designing and publishing and selling my own patterns and that kind of thing, but I retired from selling patterns in 2019. I do still have tons of free ones online on sewhookedjen.com, which is my website, and fandominstitches.com, which is the fandom website that I started in 2012. So you'll hear me mention both of those, and but for the most part, everything I do these days is just for me and just for fun. I have retired from doing almost everything else. To catch you up to date, I am currently not working on a quilt, but I am working on all kinds of fun baby stuff because we are expecting our first grandchild, and what else am I going to do but sew all of the wonderful tiny things. Last week I did get to work on the towels, and I finished all of the terry cloth that I have on hand, and I do have a little bit more coming, but let me show you what I've got so far. Using the bias binding that I bought from Hip Stitch in Albuquerque, this was a pre-cut bias. It's a rainbow. It's by the yard. I was very happy to find this because it meant I did not have to make miles of bias tape, and I did actually buy miles of it. So this is our first hooded towel, and they're all gonna have this bias like this. I made these a little bigger than most of the tutorials called for because I want them to go, you know, through like in from baby all the way into like a little kid. My kids loved their hooded towels, and I remember how sad they were when they didn't fit anymore. So these are a little bit bigger. Instead of doing a 30-inch towel, I did a 36-inch towel, and then the corner is a 12-inch square that I cut in half, and I used a small Corelle plate, like a saucer type plate, to make the corners. And as you can see, this is my beautiful binding. This binding was so easy to put on, and I'm so happy with how it came out. It's really soft. This is really, really nice, soft, double-sided terry. I have no idea what brand it is because this came from Hip Stitch Recreate, which is their boutique of previously owned fabric. So it didn't, it's not something they ordered. It's something that someone traded in for store credit or donated or something like that. Anyway, so this is a 36-inch hooded towel for a little one. I made 2 of these. And because I had cut some off of the terry cloth when I first got it, I just dove in and chopped 8 inches off of that. I ended up not having as much terry as I wanted for these towels. I had been to Ikea to look at baby stuff, which I mentioned previously with my kiddo, and they had hooded towels that were almost like a robe that didn't have arms. So I made something based on that. I don't think it's quite perfect. I think the hood's a little bit too big, but I am pretty happy with it. So I used the rest of the toweling, but it was a very long piece, so you can see how wide that is. And then I added a little hood. So I made the hood first and put the binding on, and I used my serger to do all of the seams here. I actually did go back and put just a line of stitching in here just to give it a little extra security to make sure that's going to stay on okay. And then I added the hood, and I added a little loop that I made out of an offcut of this binding, so that this can be easily hung up, like if they want to hang it on a hook or something like that. The hood, I think I could have made a little smaller. This was a 16-inch square. I think I probably should have used a 12-inch square, but that's okay. They'll grow into it, and it'll be a nice towel for a long time. It's the same exact terry, same exact binding, and this is almost all the terry. I have a little bit left that I can probably throw on the back of a couple of bibs, and then that's it for this terry cloth. Those did not take long to make, so I had plenty of time last week to make all kinds of other stuff, and boy, did I have a good time. One of the first things that I did when I found out about this baby was to start looking for patterns, and knowing what I know after all of my years of sewing, I figured that probably I could find some used uncut patterns, and I did. First I tried thrifting and I didn't find a whole lot, and then I tried shopgoodwill.com, which is Goodwill's online auction site, and then I tried eBay, and I ended up getting these on eBay. I have over a dozen patterns, and they are all baby patterns. All of them, with one exception so far, have been uncut, and even that one, only one pattern piece was cut out and it was put back in the envelope, so it was still there. So instead of just making things willy-nilly, I asked my kid to go through all of these patterns and have a look. And anything that they absolutely needed to put 3 check marks, anything that they wanted to put 2 check marks, anything they would like but it wasn't necessary to put 1. So that allowed me to triage the patterns and figure out what needed to be made and what I could make later. And so the very first thing I made, because this is going to be a winter baby, even though it doesn't get super cold for super long, we do get cold in Texas, and occasionally it gets very cold for a short period of time. The very first thing that I started working on was this pattern. They had marked 3 check marks on this one, and this is a little bunting, so it's like a little baby sack. It didn't have a lot of fleece, which I'll get to in a minute, but it didn't have a lot of fleece, so I was reading what I needed on all of these patterns, and this is the only one that says instead of fleece you can use pre-quilted fabric. So obviously I am a quilter, so I had some fabric that I had purchased a while back, and I pulled it out. It was perfect, and I quilted it and ended up making a quilted baby bunting. And if this isn't the cutest thing I've ever made, I do not know what is. So it's a little baby bunting, so it's a little sack with little hands. This turns back so that the little hands can poke out the front, and it has a zipper down the front like this. So I've got a little bit of cotton inside, and this is all quilting cotton. And then this is the back. So it's just a little sack for your baby. And I adore this fabric. I don't remember what it's called, but I will find it and I'll put it in the description for you guys. That took a couple of days. Honestly, the quilting took longer than anything. The way I approached that was I quilted it first, and then I serged around the edges, and then I washed it so it would shrink, and then I cut out the pattern pieces so that now it has that quilted crinkle, but it's not going to shrink any more than it already has. Putting it together was not that difficult. I will say that even though they say you can use pre-quilted fabric, these instructions are for fleece, so I had to improvise a couple of things, because fleece you don't have to worry about raw edges, and there were a couple of spots where they just neglected to say what you were supposed to do there. And so in those cases, I just serged so that there would be a closed edge, so I didn't have to worry about a big chunky hem or anything like that. So the next thing I worked on were these little pants. Super easy. They are about 1/2 yard of fabric and a little bit of elastic, and it's only 1 pattern piece. So I cut out 3 pairs at a time, and I ended up having the best time making these guys. I just made them kind of all at one time. So first of all, I have little Roadrunners. This fabric is from Hip Stitch. This is from a local artist in Albuquerque, and I'm really happy with this. I'm pretty sure Jules sent me this one, so I think this was a gift from her. You can see the little Roadrunners. And the next one I did that was these little Pokemon pants. I've had this fabric for years, and I'm so glad that I got to use it. I think they came out so cute. And then of course we have to have some axolotls, and this fabric was actually left from a project I did for the kiddo who is going to be a parent. Instead of doing newborn clothes, I'm working on like the next size up, because newborns outgrow their clothes so fast. So what I have been doing is putting a little piece of twill tape inside, and this is 13 to 17 pounds. They all have something like that in them, so that if my kiddo ever passes these on, that will be in there, and so the next person who uses them will know what size these are, but also it will help my kid as well. So these were a little tricky because you're supposed to measure the waist in order to do the waistband. I don't have a waist to measure yet, so I made them a little bigger than I thought they needed to be, and then when the time comes, if needed, I can just take a little bit of elastic out, so that won't be a problem at all. Next up, I worked on this outfit, which is like a little romper. This is not one that my kiddo had marked. I just thought it was super cute, and I decided to make it, and I have some regrets. This is the only pattern so far that I've had any real issues with, and I think there was maybe a mistake in this pattern, and now that I know, if I do this again, I will adjust it just a little bit when I'm cutting the fabric. So I did make it. It came out okay, but it has snap tape in the shoulders, which I didn't have problems with the snap tape itself, but I don't think they actually left space at the top of the shoulders for the way they said to install the snap tape, because you put it on the opposite side where it's going to be, and then you turn it like this. This I sewed to the wrong side, and then you turn it to the right side and sew it down. And I don't think they added that extra bit of fabric for that, because the sleeves were way too big, and I ended up altering them just a little bit. So now the sleeves seem really small and the neck seems really small. So I'm not sure this one will even work, but I figure we'll give it a chance. If the neck is too small, I will just cut it off and make it into pants. I did fall down a huge rabbit hole trying to find fleece. Now that we don't have Joann anymore, it is like finding fleece is a lot more difficult. There are a few suppliers out there, but I really want to be able to touch the fabric or know the manufacturer before I purchase it. So what I ended up doing is I just started scouring again all of my favorite like online auction sites, and I found on Shop Goodwill, I found a huge lot of Joann's fleece, and it was almost all of it was remnants, but there was a bunch of yardage as well. And it was a ton of printed like little kid baby fleece, and I even had a little bit of a couple of the prints. So I have that coming. I got a ton of fleece for $30 plus shipping. So I'm very excited about this. It's all brand new. I mean, you can tell by looking at it that it has never been used before. So when I get it in, when it finally gets here, I will take all the wrappers off, I will wash everything, and then I will have a whole collection of fleece to play with. This is already really long, but I want to say thank you to Abby because she sent me some folkwear patterns in the mail. I have made a folkwear pattern before, and they are super fun to work on. So she found these and sent them to me. So these are more kids patterns, which I love. How fun is that? And then she sent me this one, and this one is not a kid's pattern, but still really fun. And then she sent me this one, which I own this pattern, so I know how good it is, but I have a friend that might be able to use it, so I might be giving this one away. So you guys, that is it for me. Stay for some bird feeder cameos. I've had some really great hummingbirds lately, and I swapped out an old camera with a new one, and it looks so much better. That's it. You guys have a wonderful week. Have a crafty week. Hug someone you love, and I'll see you next week. Bye.